Ladies and gentlemen, we about to have quite the festivities right now. About to have quite the festivities.
It's the off season. Let's keep it tall. Y'all ain't fucking with my man.
Yes,
and don't check their watch. You know the time. Cold Killer Cans. Niggas is fucking finished.
This shit too easy for me now. Nigga Cole been going plat since back when CDs was around. If you sold out triple debt, I can't believe these fucking clowns. Look how everybody clapping when your 30 song album do a measly 100,000. If I'm betting on myself, then I could.
We are here right now. Give this man another round of applause right now for the proceedings.
It's popping.
In Alexandria, although us in the New York, New Jersey area, we gotta claim him to the one and only Noah Lyles is here. We gotta give him the Master Flexer. He's here in the building, ladies and gentlemen, for the full occasions. How are you doing today, grand sir?
I'm good. I'm living. Life is good, man. Can't complain.
Not only that, besides being a track superstar and anime connoisseur that this man is, and we will get into the proceedings, he also is having a great new series on Twitter Spaces called Sprint Talks right there. This man is getting into the media round. Give this man more round of applause for proceedings.
I appreciate it.
I'm telling you, out of the whole future career of Arian Island, I don't think he's gonna get a more live interview with more of those real quotes that you just gave, that he gave towards you, sir. How are you feeling as a host now?
I mean, to be honest, that's what I want. You know, I feel that there's just been a lot of situations where I've had roundtable discussions with athletes, you know, just at breakfast, you know, when we're about to go into a meet, and it's like, yo, these are stories that people want to hear. These are the things that people want to talk about. So just giving an easy way to talk about and just be himself, you know, that's all I want athletes to be able to do in, you know, these sprint talks.
Well, right here, we are doing that all the way here on Overall Overtime with you, grand sir, because I had to ask you with this, in these whole proceedings with that, who for you right now, in terms of, because we talked about this at New Balance in regards to your top anime shows, but this is a different one. Who for you is your top 5 anime characters for you, and only your list, because no one else's list shouldn't even be in. It's about you with that. So if anybody wants to complain, it's his list, people. Who is your top 5 in no particular order for anime characters right now, sir?
Top 5, no particular order. Gosh, all right. Dang, you got me having to think of animes and characters. Let me go. Of course, Goku will be in there.
Hey,
you know, I just have to get it. Edward Elric, 100% has to be it. Lelouch.
Okay.
Lelouch from Gurren Lagann, not from Gurren Lagann, from Code Geass, 100%. The man is just crazy with the brain. He knows what he's doing. You know, he's never gonna let the ball drop. That's just who he is.
Very true.
Dang, who else would I give this to?
I'm
trying because not always my favorite animes have some of my favorite characters. That's the hard part.
Would you sleep in Naruto? Would you slip in a Luffy?
Nah, I'm just, they just never have my favorite characters right there. It's usually the background characters that sometimes get my biggest attention. Kaneki, I kind of want to give it to Kaneki, but I'm a little hesitant because he was just such a loser in the beginning. But he turned out I think I'm gonna have to give it to him though, because he just turned out to be so stone cold in the end. Like, how could you not? All right, I one more. Shoot.
Well, if you don't,
I think I'm gonna have to give it to Kilowog.
Man, this is exclusive.
Kilowog, he got the electricity. He an assassin at a young age. Like, this man is not to be trifled with. And then at the same time, you know, the man rides a skateboard. Like, how cool can you get?
Ooh, this list, people, that is as good a list, honestly, as you can get right now. No one better be complaining about no Vegeta on the list or Sailor Moon. Like, this is his list, people. On that note, with that, Well, Grand Sir, I gotta ask you this on the proceedings of this because we want to make sure we highlight just all of the major accomplishments that you've had in this whole sport with that. Because people will talk about all the professional stuff, but people gotta understand how much of a legitimate phenom you were with that in a level where basketball can have McDonald's All-Americans and high school football can have U.S. Army and Under Armour All-Americans, but you, sir, were a legitimate Sonic global all-world person that you were with that, all the way with that, where you have to get that full sound effect in terms of something.
He's faster than Sonic.
Indeed, sometimes this man seems to be. Shout out to the good sir, Charles Hamilton, a homie all the way from way back then in terms of his career with that. But we have to go to this one notable moment where I think this is one of the more underrated parts of your great career, where this one moment and provided by the good sirs at FloTrack, because this was something that was just amazing, was what happened with this classic moment here at the Armory. And the announcing people, if you haven't heard, just listen to the whole announcement.
The best sprinters this indoor
With Ron Benjamin
so
in the
far.
race.
Lyles, world youth champion in the Olympics in the 200. Outside, Clark,
This
60
is
meter
classic,
national
people.
champion. Outside of that, 400 national champion. This is for all the marbles. Who's the king of the sprints? Here we go. Who's out strong right now? That's Ryan Clark out very strong in 5 in the gray. He's already gained a little ground on Benjamin. Let's see if Lyles can have an answer or Benjamin can have an
Ryan
answer.
Clark
ran
had
21 flat earlier in the season. Clark really eats up Benjamin right now. It's here comes Clark Lyles on the inside. Let's see if he can walk him down. Lyles on the inside. Noah Lyles. Noah Lyles. 21. TC Williams. Let's see if he got it. 2083. Noah Lyles from TC Williams. He hits the track in celebration. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the second fastest time ever by a high schooler and the third fastest time ever by a high school.
And the reaction says it all, man. Your thoughts when that went down for you to come back on Sir Clark with Rye in the race. Is that something you even talk with Rye with to this day about?
We've definitely mentioned it a few times. We always remember our high school career, especially that year, because so much was happening in that year. Me and Rye had been going back and forth with the 300, just like bettering the world best. We're bettering each other. I believe he got the win out of that one. I ended up running like, what was it? It was 33-2, and I think he ran 33-1. And I was just like, dang, I got to give that to him. And then even with me and Ryan, we had been going back and forth all year in the 100 and in the 200 or the 60 or the 55 and the 200. He had been dropping a lot of 60 times because they did more of that. And gosh, I can't remember if he's from South Carolina or Georgia. I'm pretty sure he's from Georgia. So they were doing a lot of 60s. So like before that race, earlier that day, me and Ryan literally were leaning just as hard as that race to see who was going to win the 60, and he barely beat me out, and I was like hurt from that. And we were going into the 200, and I was like, I know I'm going to win this. Like, and the funniest thing is that was my first national championship win. Like everything before that, I was getting beat. I was in seconds, thirds. Like, yeah, I had won the World Youth Olympics, but I still didn't have a national championship to my name yet. And getting that one, I was like, heck yeah, it was just from that point on, everything just started drastically dipping in time in terms of attitude, in terms of like goals. Like it was a great moment.
It certainly was, man, with that reaction in one of the all-time races, and how FloTrack provided that sound that we wish the commentary was like that regularly in terms of excitement. Your thoughts in regards to FloTrack and how they have tried to match the enthusiasm and love of the sport that you have in their coverage of the sport, unlike maybe others as well. What was your thoughts on him seeing that audio?
It's funny because when they first, like, that was like one of their first 2 years that they had just come out, and they were partnering with Milestat and Milesplit. And anybody who's in high school, that Milestat and Milesplit is like the Bible of, times, records, information, track meets, all that stuff. I mean, I remember being in high school, every day, every class, I would just be type it up, milesplit.com, who's run so far. But that year was by far their best years. They had this, weekly digestion where the same guy who was commentating, he would come on with another girl. I forgot her name. She was really cool too, though. And they would digest everything that happened in the week. They would talk about, world leads, world best, if anybody had broken a record, who was going to be matching up in the coming track meets, and it'd be like 5 to 7 minutes long. It was great. It was amazing. It was like, that was the energy. And they also, did these broadcasts, and they brought that same excitement. And I remember they left after a year after that year, which I think was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And so around 2016, 2017, they left, and they kind of gave it on to the next group, and they just have not carried the torch as strongly. Yeah. I feel like the excitement is not there, the enthusiasm is not there as much, and you're still paying for it. So you're still paying for track and field, but you're not getting as much as the excitement. And now it's come down to a situation where it's like, now you guys are just making us pay for high school track and nationals. Like, I remember trying to watch New Balance Nationals this week, and it was like, oh yeah, you gotta pay for this. And I was like, I remember when this used to be free, when it wasn't hard to be able to see who the top national kid was. But recently, I feel that Citrus Mag has kind of taken on that spot that FloTrack left in my heart, essentially. And now they're kind of bringing that same energy slowly but surely. And I'm just hoping to see more and more journalists like that.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Chavez, who's at Citrus Mag at the moment, and how Citrus Mag is now filling that space that Flo used to have, but has given that up in a major way. Before we also pivot towards another notable accomplishment in your youth career that you alluded to with that, Joseph Wine on Greenhouse said, what about Azen from Bleach in terms of a top 5 option?
Sorry, I'm not a Bleach guy.
Exactly. Joseph, come on. It's not your list. It's his list.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there are going to be a lot of people, but yeah, this is my list. And of course, I can't think, if I really sat down and thought about it, of course, I could have thought of more names. I think everybody understands that it's hard to understand. It's hard to remember everybody's name in anime because they're not English. I mean, I know 7 different animes with a girl named Sakura too. So saying Sakura ain't gonna help you. But yeah, I'm not a Bleach guy. I've never been a Bleach guy. I've never been a One Piece guy. I'm truthfully to be honest, I'm an everything guy. I love all my anime, from your slices of life to your mysteries to your ghouls, your dramas, your actions, all that stuff, fantasies. Ichikais. I love ichikais. I love a good ichikai.
You may have this man Astro Boy and Doraemon on the whole list with that all the way. Well, another great youth moment, as you were mentioning, that deserves to get even more love that a lot of track fans, I think, still haven't watched or at least fully appreciated, was you mentioning that youth Olympic moment, and in this way, and how it went down in this fashion with you. Look at this.
Oh man, with the glasses.
And I was gonna ask you, and of course with a great race move right there, I gotta ask you, sir, are the Walter Dix glasses never gonna appear again?
I mean, they appear all the time in practice. Like, I got them in my bag all the time. And even when we were going to Prefontaine, I was warming up in them because it was so hot. But in terms of actually racing in them, I realized that it's too much of a risk for me. They might slide off. They might, bounce too much. And at the end of the day, I like to see through my own eyes. There's something just different when I can see through my own vision. It's not colored or tailored differently. Like, I want people to see my eyes. I want them to see my face, and I want to be able to see the track. I want to be able to see the lines as clearly as possible. And I feel that I get that the best with my own vision.
Indeed, and that vision is paying off with the way you ran at New Balance with that 60, where you were really, really that happy, and how we were able to lock in with that. And from that 60 on with it, how have you felt in regards to this whole progress for now the rest of late winter going to spring?
I mean,
You got that smile on your face, man. Credit.
niggas in trouble. That's all I can say. They in trouble. I mean, these practices that I've been putting down consistently, there hasn't been a Noah that's practiced like this before. You know, this is new territory. You know, everybody want to say, yeah, I'm having good practices. No, I'm having great practices.
That's
and
right.
each one builds upon himself. Like, I'd scare people with the times that I put down in practice. Like, I'm very blessed right now because last year it was the opposite. You know, I felt I wasn't getting anywhere close to where I used to be, and now I'm at a point that I've never been. You know.
Yeah. Are you scaring even Lance, Coach Lance? You scaring or anybody?
Let's just say that Coach B doesn't yell at it. If it's too fast, he won't yell at the time. He'll just walk up to you and show it. I've been getting a lot of walk-ups and showings.
That's when this man is running in practice at a way that rest of the competition, they got a preview of it, at least New Balance, but I mean, just only a preview with that. What made him to be the coach for you when you are this whole phenom and you are doing your thing and everything? What made him be the choice for you to trust in him and your great mother, your great brother with that? What made Lance Bauman be the choice for you to be your coach?
To be honest, it's kind of an easy story. We were discussing contracts and we already knew we were going to go with Adidas at the 2016 Olympic trials. The contract was already drawn up. And one of the last things we needed to do was find a coach because we couldn't stay with our high school coach. You know, we just wanted to move on to another level, and our high school coach couldn't provide that. They couldn't provide, you know, massages and, you know, finding the right medical and connections with the world. So, you know, we had to go. It's just part of, you know, evolving, growing, and moving on to the sport. And our agent said, hey, I got two coaches that we think would do well. You know, the only thing you can't do is run with a Nike coach. That's what basically Adidas said. For those of you who don't know, there are coaches that get specifically paid by Nike.
Wow.
Dennis is one of those coaches. He's very known. You know, he has Justin Gatlin, Kenny Benerick, Shakari Richardson. You know, those are all Nike people. And our group with my coaches is an all Adidas group. So Adidas pays my coach to, you know, basically work with Adidas athletes. And, you know, basically going back to the story, my agent brought us two coaches. Tony Carpenter was one of them. And that was Candace Hill's older coach. He coached her, I believe, from when she first turned pro all the way to about, I want to say 2019. And then she moved up to with Carol in 2020 at USC. I think she's still at USC though. I don't think she went with Carol to Georgia. Anyway, and then Lance Bauman was the other one. So we had an interview with both, and me and my brother were just like, hey, you know, with Lance Bauman, we just felt that he had a very structured program that was similar but elevated to what we were doing in high school. He had worked with a ton of young talent before. A lot of his athletes he usually gets them very young, even coming out of high school like us. So we felt that for him to get us coming out of high school and turning us long-term was not going to be all that big of a difference for him. And we just saw that, you know, he was very trusted by, you know, our boss, which is Spencer Nell, who was in charge of signing all Adidas athletes. And he was very trusted by our agent. Not to say that Tony Carpenter wasn't trusted. Yeah, he was also trusted. But, you know, we felt more comfortable when we had that initial conversation. And what was funny is I think Josephus was more of the one who was like, oh yeah, I really want to train with this coach. To be honest, I was more on like, I wasn't like, oh yeah, this is a coach for me at first. It was more like I felt, you know, that this coach could elevate me and bring me higher. But as we started to work more and more together, I felt that we started to understand, and that's when we started really creating a very close bond over the years.
See, that's one thing that a lot of people, even if you are a track fan, and me with someone with running track in high school, running track at BU, and Robin Johnson, ironically enough, who is a U.S. coach, was actually BU coach, for me with that, though. Long story of that says a whole matter with things that I roll my eyes on, but she is coach, at least in terms of Team USA. But a lot of people in track, including myself, literally just now, did not know that they are so specific of assigning a lot of the top coaches to the brands with that.
Oh yeah.
It's a thing.
See, I can go even deeper. I'm gonna blow your mind real quick. This is the story of the relationship between college coaches and brands.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So let's take a school like we'll take Oregon, easiest because they're so connected to Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Say Oregon has an athlete that comes through. Now the coach at Oregon is probably having Nike say, hey, if you send your athlete our way, we'll give you an extra bit of money.
Mm-mm.
And even on top of that, say that they aren't directly saying that, say if Oregon's coach works specifically with a certain agent, because every agent has their favorite coaches. It's just a fact of life. You just gravitate towards people naturally. Whoever that agent is, they're normally going to have a brand that they do better with. So probably the agent that works the closest with Oregon is probably going to be closer with Nike as well. So if you have a coach and you're like, yeah, I want to go pro, your coach is going to be like, well, I have this agent that I think would be great. And he might be doing that just because he knows that he's going to send you to Nike, and then both the agent and the coach would probably get a bonus from it.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense in terms of that happening. Like in regards to them getting a bonus with it, it definitely is something where you don't hear that be talked about regularly in media circles. No. And honestly, some of like media colleagues don't focus enough on that, as well as also it just not being mentioned, which leads to this whole thing sometimes where I feel, that track can sometimes put itself in like a niche circle sometimes that it's just so counterproductive with that. And one thing I wanted to ask you specifically was when you see highlights, particularly whether it be the Olympics and the IOC having its own thing and its own, reputation in regards to being so strict about highlights. But when you see even the USATF, where if y'all wanted to just have someone post a highlight that's not from, say, it may be like an NBC streaming or NBC highlight or just any highlight with that, just fans want to just post it on Twitter or Instagram, instead of like growing the sport in a way where you're promoting, you're excited that fans are giving free promotion towards the sport, they will just block a whole DMCA copyright and just take the video down. Even if you're at the track meet, they were doing this a few years ago with that. So what is your thoughts when you see USATF, when, you got legitimate fans still of the sport and trying to watch it, and how the sport is still having at least that natural love for people. But then when they're trying to promote the sport, just on Twitter, just as a fan, and you see that video taken down by USATF, it's like, what is your thoughts as an athlete when you see that?
As an athlete, so there's a lot of different things that go into that. Of course, it's not a cut and dry situation. As an athlete, I wish it wouldn't happen as much, but knowing more of the background behind it, NBC controls, basically all the footage that USATF has. And because of that, NBC wants his money. I mean, NBC is owned by Comcast. Comcast is one of the biggest companies in the US. Basically, when you think of Comcast, basically think of Disney. Disney's competitor, basically.
Yep.
And if you know Disney, they're not giving nothing out for free. They're gonna get their money. Comcast is gonna get their money too, and they want it, So when you are using their videos, it's like, hey, you didn't pay for that. It's the same thing as music and copyrights. It's just a bigger company owns it. So it's the same type of situation. Now, does it suck? Of course it sucks. And there should be some type of deal that they should be able to work out for athletes for be able to post their own stuff. But that begs the question, who is going to force them to stop, or who's going to force that deal to be made? Because essentially you are going up against a Fortune 500 company.
You are with that, and we saw this even with FIFA too, when you had, as I mentioned to you, at New Balance, where one of the prominent players on the Belgian national team, Michy Batshuayi, at the World Cup, he had a highlight of him scoring a goal off his head in a funny moment, and he posted it, his own highlight, and FIFA actually took the video down from his own page with his highlight in it. And it was just something where I don't know if you saw, if there's any of your fellow athletes or training partners that posted any video of their highlights per se and had it taken down as a copyright. How bizarre that is, where they're literally in the highlight and it's taken down in that way, where you wouldn't see the NFL or the NBA do that, and how massive they are with money and things like that. The NFL used to do that, and then they realized, well, it doesn't make sense to still have these little DMCAs for people with just 100 followers, Twitter accounts as fans. It's free. We're getting free marketing with that. It's just something where I wish the USATF would think about that, because you have people with the Mellrose Games still having just posting highlights and just having it taken down, and it's it leads to that isolation I feel from track from his fans in terms of wanting to make sure they continue to grow the sport in that major way. But you make a legitimate point with that in terms of at least always that angle in regards to rights and ownership with that. As you were mentioning with music, man, you have become the music producer right now. At the same time, with that love, not only of your artistry, man, but with your music, for you as someone that decided to not have any thoughts of really college with that per se, and knew you were ready to go professional with it, you are really a scholarly person, Noah, with that. When did the love in terms of you wanting to be doing your own music beats, come in regards to obviously your love of music, and then in your just love of just art in general?
Well, I'm actually not a producer. I just know how to work the computer enough for me to be able to rap, be able to record myself and a few of my friends. I definitely leave the beat making to people who are good at that. I'm actually trying to pay somebody right now to make some beats right now. Shout out to Maddie Beats. We've been
You
recently working.
You spitting on the mic now too?
I mean, that's what I do. I'm not a producer. I'm a rapper, Nah, but I think I've always had a love for music. My mom, of course, my younger years were very controlled in the music world. We were very Christian oriented, even was kind of in a little bit of a cult when we lived in Gainesville, Florida. But of course, my mom loves the classics, and her always, asks whenever a Ray Charles song will come on, and she will be like, who is this? No, it's it's Ray Charles, mom. I'm like, don't you forget it. And even her introducing me to Michael Jackson for the first time, I thought it was so weird, but at the same time, it was kind of cool. And as I grew up, I started to have an appreciation for music, and that's when I start having my love for, hearing stories and songs and realizing that albums had messages and all this creativity to them. And as I was going through high school, I was like, oh, of course I would, like to dabble in it. But I mean, everybody wants to be a rapper. And I was like, I don't want to be a stereotype, typical Black kid. But eventually I just kind of got over that. I was just like, I want to create art. And music is another form of art. And I felt that I was a great storyteller. And I wanted to be able to, try my hand in it. It just became more and more prevalent, and I just practiced everything by myself. I bought my own equipment, and now it's gotten to the point where I've hired a music manager, and we're talking about, releasing bigger singles, marketing, and even making albums and live shows.
Give this man a round of applause for that. You don't laugh about this all the way. But between doing slam poetry and then other music stuff and whatnot, I actually get the freestyle with Lupe Fiasco, and even with Talib, and that's on IG Live when the pandemic was happening, where it happened on July 4th, 2020, after me and Lupe had some talks on IG Live with that man. And it's just something where, once you compete in loving sports, that's something where you say to yourself, I really love music with that, and you really have a level where you're like, I could really do this at a level where, hey, I'm a creative person, I'm a talented person with that, and that's something that you certainly have in regards to your personality with that, and a real genuine love of just art, and it's led to you wanting to do that with your music. Is there any time you have any time to release anything in regards to the songs of any time soon in the spring or
yeah, right now we're planning on releasing a lot of things, basically doing the track season. as I'm being able to run, we should be able to have at least 4 or 5 singles come out in between now, in between April through September. That's our goal, at least, and so far it's going pretty well.
We're here with Noah Lyles going 100 miles, making sure right now, get him on the speed dial. Doing this thing right here on Overall Overtime here in Spotify Green Room app. Now, sir, I gotta ask you this, man, because people, people just love to try and say, oh, we just love any type of drama. Oh, this is amazing in terms of things, and this is what a sport needs and all that. And how, sometimes, okay, that's great for attention, but a lot of people just build off of just negativity a lot of times and not, just in regards to positivity with it. But this whole thing in regards to not only with Christian Coleman with it, and how that whole decision, like with Mellrose, who decided during that press conference to put you Christian Coleman in between you and Trayon Bromell, and how it was certainly a little awkward, where even though I'm glad, he was able to sit next to you, and it's like, if you can't stand somebody, you wouldn't sit next to them or whatnot. But it was still something where it was a whole thing that whenever you're talking, he was just trying to look motionless. And people can watch the whole press conference with that, but it was clearly noticeable, man. But who made that decision with Mill? Who made that decision, man? Who made that decision?
I was the last to sit down, so everybody had already chosen their seats by the time I got up there. I don't even remember exactly if there were names on the chair. I think we just, got up there and sat down. So I think Trayon was the first person to sit, and then, Christian was second, and then I just chose whatever seat was left. So there wasn't any ulterior motive to the seating arrangement.
Okay. All right, good. Because I was wondering who, literally didn't look at their track history, their social media history, and made that whole decision, with that. This is the thing, because we be remiss, World Indoors is this weekend with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you being a real fan of the sport, is something, without a doubt, your thoughts in regards to this whole race coming up between Christian Coleman, if they both make the final, because nothing's a guarantee. But if they make the final, with Christian Coleman and Jacobs being in this whole final because of him at least having that indoor background all the way before his breakout year last year, whichever way people may take it, the man had the breakout year last year, and it is what it is with that. Your whole thoughts in regards to this, with Christian obviously being the favorite with that, being the world record holder with that and all that. But, this is something where this is Jacobs. He's been able to have big runs over these years in these big races. So your thoughts on that, if any?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. This is a very interesting matchup. if you would have asked me this question in 2019 or even 2018, it would have been an obvious Christian Coleman. But because Christian is, coming back, I remember I was saying at the beginning of the season, I was like, I don't think Christian is going to have any problems coming back. And the man is still running very fast, world lead off of 2-3 races. It's just not as smooth, of course, and that's to be expected, but because it's not as smooth, everybody knows that Christian's weakness is towards the end of the race. Now, in the 60, he's usually not able to have to worry about that, but he's starting to look a little tense at the end of his races in the 60. And that's my biggest worry. If Jacobs pulls up on him in the last, or even is within shoulder shot, that could be a dangerous move. And I think we all know if somebody pulls up on the Christian, it's more than likely to break down. Mm-hmm. So again, if Christian can get out and keep that distance away from everybody, sure enough will be his race. But if Jacobs is near close to him and he pulls up on him before that 5 meters, I think he's going to break down, and I think Jacobs could take the win. And Jacobs is definitely the one to do it. His form and angles in the 60 is very, very clean. Of course, the only thing that I see is towards the end of his races in the 60, he kind of flicks his shin out in front of his knee, which actually slows you down a little bit. But it's funny because when I watched that in this 100, I didn't see it from last year. So I'm wondering if maybe that was just a few, mishaps that happened in a few races.
Otto Bowden, this man is about to take your analyst job right here, because this man broke this down in a way where it wasn't only you breaking it down, but you broke it down in the charismatic fashion that you did with that. And that's something where you are truly a real student of track. You really, really are in terms of that whole perspective. What was the race that you saw on TV, you and your brother, that made you say, yeah, I really love doing this, before even what you and your brother saw when y'all were 12 and saying, yeah, we can do this professionally? What was for you that race where you said, yeah, I really do love this sport, that you saw as a kid?
I think it was 2015 Worlds. We were watching it, and of course it was a really late one. So were already going to school. It was the beginning of school, high school. We were probably sophomores, 2015. Yeah, we were sophomores. And I remember watching it on the way to school because it was in Beijing. So we were 12 hours behind. And we were watching relays and, of course, the 100s and the 200s and the 800s and all this stuff. And, it was becoming a era where I was able to cheer for people because I had watched them in their careers for at least a year or two now. And I just remember watching the 4x4 and we lost. And I was like, I'm gonna make this team. And when I'm on that relay, we ain't never gonna lose.
Hey, this man has made a guarantee with that. No doubt about it. And that was really the race right there where you just said, hey, I am just taking it upon myself to make sure that a future U.S. team that I'm on, we're not going to have that same result. That was the race that spurred you on.
It was really the one where I was like, okay, I care too much about this sport because I'm caring about how our image is now, not so much me individually. It was like, okay, we don't drop the baton too many times in the 4x1. This is not okay. And all I'm going to say is every time I'm on the relay, we win.
Hey, I mean, that's truth now. Give that man the ding sound with the truth that it is with that, and leading to the motivation to have you where you're at today with this. Another thing, I don't know if you had a chance to watch fully U.S. indoors in terms of championships all the way. What was your thoughts where, and this one was really humorous, even though this is in the jumps, and the jumps obviously thing that you don't do now or whatnot, But going in the triple jump competition with a great Will Claye, had a whole spat with Chris Carter, and they were going like at it on the whole jumps, only for Scott to take the whole title in the end. But what was your thoughts what was your thoughts if you saw that happen with Will Claye and Chris Carter going at it?
I mean, they like that, you know. They always trying to get something to get people interested in. Before it was that, a few years ago, it was him and Omar Craddock, and they're good friends. So I know that it's all that, you know, get people excited, because it's hard as a field eventer to get attention. You know, of course you have the clap and everybody loves that, but they're always going to look at the track event before they look at the field event, especially on TV. It's very hard. So if you can get that attention to it, you know, then all of a sudden they have a reason to be turning the camera to watch that event. So of course, I know Will is an innovator himself. He's always going to try and push for the sport to be great. And another athlete rapper right there, I got mad respect for.
Yes, Dub C with it, man.
Yes, sir. So I know that it wasn't anything harsh to each other, you know, but I still like to see it. You know, it's good to see, especially if you know that nobody's feelings are intentionally trying to get hurt.
And what's good to see is not only a personality like yours, but seeing other personalities of this rising generation emerge and make their own staple in terms of in the track world with this. And seeing like someone like Grant Holloway or seeing Sha'Carri Richardson and seeing those personalities with that as well be personalities for you, I want to ask you, besides your brother, who for you right now is someone that you're close to as like a friend that y'all can just, even as competitors, you can still be like, oh, this guy is really, you know, me and him really bond, or me and her really bond as like friends or whatnot. It ain't no jealousy or weird animosity like other people. I ain't mention them again, but other people with that. Who for you right now in these circles in track is someone besides your brother, is someone that's, hey, we're hanging out or whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I try for the most part to be, you know, good with everybody. I'm not trying to create animosity towards anybody. Me and Wade got really close, especially when he changed over to the group. Akani Simbine, we're pretty close, especially when you kind of run into each other at every track meet. And then there's some people like me and Grant. I mean, Grant's my boy. We've been competing against each other since high school. You know, I always got love for Grant. I think he's supposed to be leaving his car over here. So I think he's coming over today to leave his car so he can head over to World Champs. But yeah, you know, I really try to, you know, at least if we're not going to be, you know, super close, you know, at least be on speaking terms. You know, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm trying to come after them. Now, you know, yeah, I'm a competitor on the track, but you know, I want to be able to, you know, to have a conversation with everybody at the end of the day.
And speaking of like peers around you and whatnot, when you first came on that major scene for besides just obviously junior career, was that 2016 Olympic trials. And you and Michael Norman, it just is something where, and this is why I'm all about making sure this sport gets as much of the deserved credit as possible with it, because for what you and Michael did at 18, right out of high school, and to run the way you two did at that whole meet, at the biggest meet that you're running in there, and the way that you were able to be calm at the beginning, particularly at least in regards to like the first round of semifinals, was something to behold on that. And it was something that I just want you to be able to talk about that whole experience in regards to how you were able to manage it as best as you can looking back on it now.
Yeah, every time I remember that, first of all, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It was also one of like the most bittersweet moments of my life, though. It was extremely fun, but on after the first round of the 200, the back, or well, my knee completely swelled up. I couldn't walk. I was like limping out of the call room, and I had my chiropractor and my massage therapist there, and they were like, I was like, I can't walk. And they're like, what? I was like, I can barely jog. Like it's too swollen. I couldn't bend it or anything like that. And they're like, all right, we're gonna get back home. And what we basically did, I took an ice bath every night. They massaged me every morning and every night. I was adjusted every morning and every night. And I was eating this is a secret that I don't tell a lot of people.
Exclusive, people.
But I was eating JELLO, a lot of JELLO. And you laugh now, but when I tell you why I was eating JELLO, your mind is about to be blown. So my chiropractor concocted this JELLO. It's super simple. It's just food dye JELLO and Knox gelatin. But it's the Knox that is the key ingredient, because what Knox actually does, it adheres and heals your muscle fibers back together. So if you're working out and you break down muscle, Knox will come in and reattach those muscles. So if you start eating a huge quantity of it, it will actually heal and create scar tissue faster. And if you have somebody breaking up that scar tissue, you actually start healing or able to get back to normal quicker. Now, this isn't an end-all be-all magical treatment by any means, and you do need the right amount of Knox to JELLO ratio, but it's saved my career multiple times. Like, there's a reason I've only been injured once in my career.
Mm-hmm. First, we got to give the Lance Awards, not only y'all with that, but as someone who has seen JELLO for fruit cups, at least the dough fruit cups, they need to reach out and talk to you now with that, man, because like you gave great promotion for that, and why I stand by my at least JELLO love for them, not traditional JELLO, but Doe changed the game with that. I was like, all right, Doe, you got me back on that with that. Few more things to ask you before we roll out on this, man. Because that is some great tidbit right there, and how, sorry TB12, this man's a real trainer right here. Like, this man's a real trainer. Right you had this whole thing where Tyreek Hill and these like darn NFL players outside of DK Metcalf, who came in with respect and humbleness and ran the way and ran impressively for, being like, a whole big man that hadn't run a whole track meet in a while with that. But you got Tyreek Hill, who was great, at least in terms of running in junior, events in track, and, has a legitimate, like, great, like, 200-meter time back then, at least, before he decided to just focus on football with that, but not in the area Knighton type or Noah Lyles type around with that. But you got this man trying to think that he's going to want to come and run or whatnot. And the good sir Trayon Bromell, as you probably may have saw, had to check that and is saying, hey, set up the race right now. So would you welcome yourself having a whole race with Tyreek Hill to, even humble even more any NFL guys that want to get into the realm?
Man, I'll smack anybody who wants their butt smacked. My pay is $40K, and when I win, you can pay me $1 million after that. But it won't happen because they too scared. Look, you guys, they
scared.
Not just that they scared, they just talk smack at the end of their season. They got nothing to do. They bored. So what do? They just try and compare themselves to be the fastest, because everybody wants to be the fastest in the world, but only the track world knows what real speed is. Of course, they can run a little 40-yard dash, and of course, you had your high school times, but that's cute and all. But you, to be honest, you too big to be moving as fast as we do. All that weight don't fly, bro. And you ain't about to set it up. Nobody else about to set it up. Your agent ain't gonna call none of our agents. I mean, I don't know why you keep doing this every year. Of course, it's to build hype. So to be honest, you guys are just, all football players are just hype chasers until you actually step on the track. And when DK Metcalf, he knew that he was in a different world when he showed up at Mount Sac. I mean, to be honest, I'm still surprised he showed up on the line, and I got to give respect to that. because I remember he was watching, he was there, we were there the day before, and he was doing blocks, and he was watching other people doing blocks. The man didn't have a confident face on after he watched them do blocks, it's something. It's one thing to say, it's one thing to, be able to do a 40-yard dash by yourself, no competition next to you, you can focus on yourself. Imagine what it's going to be when you line up with 7 other people who start better than you. They transition better than you. They've been doing this longer than you. That's pressure. That's pressure. And you can't touch them. This ain't football. There ain't no contact. You ain't gonna be able to push them. You ain't gonna be able to tackle them. You have to accept your defeat in the race.
Woo! This boy is spitting right now. Where I thought she was gonna drop the Jermaine Cole line. Your Jermaine Cole line. That shit's gonna drop about that with the pressure. Leads to the Diamonds, and this is why the Diamond League that he is, master what he is with that. Let me close on this note with this, sir, because you certainly provided many quality quotes, and why none of my colleagues should be ever asking you any generic questions over and over again with not just trap, but also just life in general with that, because we could do this a whole nother time and have some more other original quotes. But you had a funny moment that you mentioned when you had this interview with GQ, where you were on a plane and this girl had Nintendo Switch, and you had Nintendo Switch, and she had Mario Kart, and you had Mario Kart, and you decided to say, you know what? You're not about that Mario Kart life. Just your whole thoughts of just retelling that whole thing real quick.
Yeah. I was going to the Robot Diamond League, and we were on the flight, and it was a good 4 to 5 hour flight. And I'm sitting on the plane, and this little girl, she's probably about 8 through 10. And she's just playing Mario Kart there. And I was just watching, and I was like, oh, okay, beating a few of the computers, and I took mine out. And she didn't speak English, and I don't speak any other language. So this was all through body language. And I was like, you trying to play? And she was like nodding her head yes, and we got to playing, and I don't go easy on nothing I play, so of course I was beating her. But I just always thought the moment was really cool, because it was like a connection through video games, and a plane ride that I probably would never think about after I got off of it. Now it was probably going to be etched in my memory for a long time.
Sir, you just had to say, sure, they appreciate you, but you're just not on that level. You're just not on that level. Your Mario Kart game has to step up at your power level in Mario Kart is 1,000, and yours is a whole trillion on the computer, all the way in full DBZ Ultra Instinct love. Shout out Goku all the way. Well, Grand Sir, we will have this and hopefully more of the conversation with that. But I gotta let you go because you're having a busy schedule with that. Oh, one quick final note. You tonight with your Sprint Talks, this episode tonight, if you give a preview towards that all the way for the good people.
Yes, of course. Sprint Talk on Twitter. Follow me at Lyles Noah. 7 o'clock tonight, I'll be talking with Talitha Diggs, family friend. I've known her since she was a baby. Both of our families are extremely close, but she is the new NCAA 400-meter champion, winning all the way from the first heat.
Yes.
Lane 4. It ain't no easy task. Of course, we'll be talking about track and field, the NCAAs, all the craziness that happened. And of course, we always end up talking about mental health. So if you're trying to get your mental strength up, I will be gladly to help. We will be doing Q&As at the end. Guys, stop by. It's a real cool vibe.
Indeed, good people. It will be a classic vibe, better than all those damn NFL Twitter space discussions and other stuff right now. This is discussion to go to with that. Let's get a round of applause. Guys, to this grand sir Noah Lyles from Players Melrose. Question on the way.
Money up on a re-up, but I got it right back and I'm doing it.
Overall overtime with the great Noah Lyles. Appreciate it, sir.
This is so focused.
Bye, buddy.
I'm out.